Okay, good morning. We're going to get started. Welcome to the Public Works and Gang Reduction Committee. Today is Wednesday, February 5th, 2013. We are in room 1060 City Hall. I'm Councilmember Joe Buscaino, Chair of the Public Works and Gang Reduction Committee. I'm joined by the Honorable Gilgis Cedillo from Council District 1. And today we're going to focus on the gang reduction part of this committee, and I'm so excited to be among the presence of each and every one of you who have dedicated your life to service in reducing gang violence. You are the angels in the City of Angels, and we are so grateful for your ongoing commitment, your love, your dedication to prevent gang violence in the city of Los Angeles. And prior to now Congressman Tony Cardenas leaving for D.C., I made a commitment to him that I'm going to continue carrying his torch and continue to focus on ways that we can expand the Gang Reduction Youth Development Department, as ways where we can improve it. And I'm blessed to lead this committee. Joining with me, Councilmember Cedillo and Councilmember Price, who has just now arrived. Thank you, Mr. Price, for joining us. The City of Los Angeles, as we all know, has the unfortunate and dubious distinction of being the gang capital of the nation. We have over 450 active gangs with a combined membership of over 45,000. However, thanks to the hard work, as I indicated, and dedication of dozens of individuals like yourselves, we are also ground zero for the development of new, innovative, and successful gang reduction strategies that are being implemented in cities all around the world. I had an opportunity prior to committee starting a meeting with a number of the gang intervention workers, and we all agree that, yes, we've had successes in reduction of gang violence, but we're not done. We will not settle until there's not one gang homicide in the city of Los Angeles. Today we're going to hear from the Mayor's Office of Gang Reduction and Youth Development, as well as two outside organizations that do amazing work, Better LA and Homeboy Industries. And I had amazing lunch today. Had the turkey chili at Homeboy Cafe, and I was proud to have the chili that was made by former gang members. So I want to welcome introductory comments from my colleagues, Mr. Price and Mr. Cedillo. Start with Mr. Price.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate your leadership on this issue and commitment, and the commitment of those of you out there. You're the ones that really, at ground level, making the contacts, making the connections, keeping the peace. And so I just appreciate the extraordinary job you've done and your commitment to continue working, and to work in different ways. And so I'm anxious to kind of hear your thoughts, get your assessment, to learn some things we should be doing better or some things we should be doing different in order that we maintain and enhance the success we've been having. So again, just thank you, and I look forward to your comments.
Thank you. Mr. Cedillo.
Let me say that I share your excitement. It's so great to see a room of so many friends, people who, like myself, believe in redemption, believe that faithfully we can change the course, that each life is a miracle, each life is valued, and that we have the ability to put that life on the right track. That, as you said, these are the angels in the City of Angels. I know this life experience intimately. For too many generations in my family, but I also know the victories that come if we stay faithful, if we make the commitment, and we really demonstrate that faith by more than just our words, but by our actions. And so I want to praise all of you for being here. I'm so excited to see so many friends here. I haven't seen some of you in a while. I'm glad to be home. People ask me, what's the difference about being in Sacramento and LA, and I think the best part of it is that I'm home. And the best part of being home is I get to see each and every one of you a little more often than we did in the past. And so that's what I'm excited about. Each and all of you have worked with me in the past, been supportive of me, but more importantly have worked with me in my efforts to be a better servant. And so for that I thank you. And Let's do this.
Thank you, colleagues. Before I bring up Ann for our first presentation on item number 1, I want those who have been actively involved in gang intervention work, gang prevention work, to please rise and to be recognized. Please stand.
Everybody.
Thank you so much. Give them a round of applause. And other members here in the room, just take a look. These individuals all have a shared goal, and that's saving lives in the city of Los Angeles. And for that, we're ever grateful. Thank you so much. I want to call item number 1. And Michael, if you can read that into the record, please.
Item number 1 is a verbal report from the Mayor's Office relative to the city's gang reduction and youth development program.
I want to recognize Mayor Garcetti for his ongoing commitment to reducing gang violence and improving and supporting youth development efforts across the city. He has an extensive record as a council member for the 13th District, and even more so now as the leader of our city, as our mayor. He is committed to doing the same, and he brought forth the interim director of the Mayor's Office of Gang Reduction and Youth Development, Ann Tremblay, who has an extensive knowledge of the gang reduction efforts, working first and foremost as a neighborhood prosecutor. Ann and I had an opportunity to meet yesterday in my office, and real excited to have you lead this effort thus far. And Ms. Tremblay, please provide us a brief overview of the GRID office, how it's structured, and the type of programs and services you provide. And wants you to answer these 2 questions. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges facing the GRID program? And 2, what do you think are some of the ways that GRID can expand the prevention intervention services provided? And thank you, Ann, for being here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and your fellow council members. Thank you for having me here and for giving me this opportunity. And I want to echo your comments to the folks that are assembled here, thanking them for their commitment and service to the city as partners in our efforts to reduce gang violence. I'm very excited to be here in my new role. I know some of the folks in this room, both in the city family and with the community groups and community members that are here from my other role as an assistant city attorney in the city attorney's office, as you mentioned, as a neighborhood prosecutor, and then later as the supervisor of the anti-gang section. So I'm looking forward to reconnecting with folks that I already know, but in my new role, which is a broader role and a very exciting role. And I also look forward to meeting some new friends and making new partnerships as we look to the future for what's going to happen with GRID. So thank you again. I'm still evaluating what some of the biggest challenges are. I'll be quite honest with you. I've only been in the position for a couple weeks, and for better or worse, I had a pre-planned trip in the middle there. So I'll tell you what I'm doing right now is I've had the chance to meet with the GRID staff and learn more about what they're doing and how things have been working and what's been going on for the last several years. As I know you're aware and others may not be aware, the GRID office is now part of the Mayor's Office of Homeland Security and Public Safety, under the direction and leadership of Deputy Mayor Eileen Decker. And so that happened even before I arrived on the scene. And so with that change, there's already been some evaluation of internally of some things that we can do better to connect with our current intervention and prevention service providers in terms of our fiscal and contract administration. So that's undergoing review and enhancement to make sure that we're communicating better with our contractors, getting them paid on time, because we want to provide good, prompt customer service going forward. And so many of those things have already been implemented and will continue on that front so that we can make the programs most effective. The other thing I'm doing right now is, now that I've gotten a good feel internally with folks, is I did an introductory email to all our intervention and prevention service providers. I've also connected with many folks that aren't our current contractors who work in this field so that I can have meetings with them, get feedback, and get get as much information as possible about what folks who do this work think we can do to improve what we've already started. Because as you mentioned, we've come a long way. We've done a lot, but there's plenty more to do, and plenty of things that we can do, I think, to increase our collaboration, leverage our resources better, both within the city family as well as with service providers and community-based organizations. So I think, I'm not sure what exactly the challenges are yet, because I see a lot of potential. I'll be honest with you. Maybe I'm a little naive at this point, but I see all potential to increase collaboration and communication and look for new ways that we can work on this problem and hear all the voices to make sure that everybody's has some input, and any ideas that are out there we can try to incorporate from all sources, whether it's from this committee, community members, as well as service providers. So I think that's what I'm doing right now, is doing that. In terms of, we have, as you know, a comprehensive strategy in place with both prevention, primary and secondary prevention, intervention, some reentry. We have our Summer Night Lights program, our gun buyback. All those programs have had some good successes. So at this point, those are things we may continue. But again, we're looking for feedback on ways to continue to improve them. We do have a system for research and evaluation. We have partners in the academic field, as well as some private entities like Carter & Company that are helping us with research and evaluation with what we're doing. And then we're also looking forward to making sure that we have good systems for monitoring and compliance, to make sure that we're giving our partners the resources they need to do the work, not just the money, but also the support and resources so they can be most effective. And then also, if there are any challenges they're having with fulfilling their contract or getting resources, that we can help support that. So I would say those are some of the things that based on my couple weeks here that I'm looking at and evaluating. And so right now I've told folks I'm a sieve, downloading a lot of information so that we can look to the future of doing the best possible job for these communities.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Ann. I want to recognize former Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, who led this charge, and Guillermo Cepedis, who also crafted in the foundation of GRID as we know it today. I would, if we can continue this discussion and dialogue between all entities involved, council, mayor's office, as well as a number of the groups that are represented here today, to include adding a reentry component. You know it well, in light of what's happening with AB 109. In sitting on the Public Safety Committee for California League of Cities, cities across the state have some challenges with AB 109, but I've always said that once folks get out of jail and are ready to integrate into the community, we need to be ready for them as well, whether it's a job, a faith-based organization. And I know the governor's budget will allocate some funding for that, and we need to look into, and it's great to have, I know there's been some concerns from a couple of the gang intervention workers that now GRID is under the Homeland Security Department, but I can see the collaboration between the two because of the grants and the money that's coming in from all levels of government. And if you're all in the same cubicle or in the same office talking about finding revenue, finding funding sources, I think that's something that needs to continue. Also, we need to look at expanding GRID from serving 30, right now we currently serve 30% of youth that are on probation to upping that number to 50%. And this is, as we talked about in my experience with LAPD, we need to find, gang crime has no zip codes. We need to look at a regional approach as well, and including the county of Los Angeles, something that we've talked about as well. What impacts a county affects a city, and vice versa. And again, just a number of other options. And when we decided to have this committee, Public Works and Gang Reduction and Youth Development, it goes hand in hand. If you look at our goal is crafting policy where we're going to have former gang members help pave our streets, working through the labor family as well, help trim trees, help put up street lights and clean our streets as well. The two and two go hand in hand. Initially, we thought this was nuts, this was crazy, but we need to make these two happen as far as putting job creation, public works, and gang reduction, and putting our former gang members back to work. We also talked about the importance of victim support systems as well, trauma services, folding in work source centers as well, and that's something I know that's near and dear to your heart, Ann, and we're real excited to hearing more about forming that collaboration between this office, this department, and our existing workforce centers. So thank you for your presentation, and look forward to working with you. I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues for questions. Mr. Price?
Yeah, I just have one. Thank you for the presentation.
Talking to the mic.
I know the summer night lights program has been something that's been effective in District 9, and just still trying to get some feel from the mayor's office. We're going to expand that program, kind of leave it the same. How do you see that kind of rolling out? And how does that fit in with our summer employment program, again, for youth specifically? How do we sort of mesh these two programs in a way that can really impact communities of need?
Well, yes, we are once again planning for summer night lights, and so we're just in the early stages of getting that going. At this point, I expect that we'll continue with having 32 sites, which is what we've had for the last several years. I suppose that could change, but I can certainly report back to you if that does. If there for some reason, I think right now we're looking at continuing to our 32 sites. I think we'll also have to evaluate whether we'll extend it, as was done last year when Mayor Garcetti took office. There was an extension of the programs into later in August, I think through the beginning of September, as I recall. We do hire youth for the summer as a part of SNL. I think it's about over 350 youth squad members, and then there's also 64 program coordinators, so 2 for each of the sites that act as site coordinators. And those are all young people at risk, gang involved or may be gang involved or at risk of becoming gang involved. And so we have processes and procedures to make sure we do good outreach to areas of the community, so as many young people as possible, whatever their circumstances, have an opportunity. My understanding is that all folks who apply, all young people who apply are in fact interviewed. So there's not like a resume or a application review first that limits it. Everybody comes into the interview because I think one of the things from what I understand and what I certainly expect going forward while I'm in this position is that we don't want to, we want to give as many youth an opportunity. And so looking at ways to make sure that as a team is at a certain location, that you have a good mix of gender, of race and ethnicity, of experience and levels of risk, so that you're forming a good cohesive team and giving as many young people the opportunity as possible at these positions at the sites. But the focus is on taking the young people from the community around those sites, the recreation centers, and then the housing development developments were included in some locations. So my goal is, of course, to continue to make sure that we do the best possible job of bringing in a lot of all that youth. As it relates to other summer youth hiring, I'm still learning about all that, and so I'll certainly look to see how we can do the best to partner with other types of programs that are already going on in the city in that regard.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your efforts and your background. I think it provides, a unique kind of experience set. But to the extent we can coordinate, and, we've had conversations with the mayor about this, he certainly has spoken of the commitment not only to hire, but to really provide better coordination with these programs. Because we have to touch these youth where they are, and I think the more we are able to touch, the better chance we have of turning around or helping folks get on the right track. And so I just think this is extremely important, not only from a public safety point of view, but from an economic development point of view. And, we've got to create an environment that people want to feel safe, and they want to feel a part of the process and the system at all ages. So I just look forward to working with you and appreciate your efforts.
Thank you. The feeling's mutual. I look forward to it as well.
Mr. Cedillo?
So I'm glad you said that you had this pre-scheduled break. That you came back.
Yes.
I'm happy you came back,
Thank you, sir.
because that could have lost you. And, naivete is great. I mean, this is how I ended up sitting in the seat. Through tremendous naivete is what brought me here. So that's great. I'm interested, and I think for the audience, and we'll go, beat up the mayor, we have to, but you're committed to staying?
I am, let me put it this way. I am fully committed to this job. Somebody asked me at one of the meetings we had with our prevention service providers, what does this interim mean in my title? And all I can say right now is I can tell you what I told her, which is the word interim is meaningless to me. And I think those I've worked with before, those who know me, know that that'll absolutely be true, because I'm fully committed to doing this job, doing it the best way I can, being inclusive, collaborating, because that's what my career, once I came to the city, has been all about, collaborating. And we are going to make this the best gang reduction and youth development department anybody's ever seen. It's been good, and we're going to make it better. It's had great successes. We're going to have even more successes, and I'm fully committed to that. Whether I stay in this role or in some other role, there's no question I'm fully committed to that. And so I can't make promises about the future, but I'll tell you what, it's been already a great experience, and I'm so glad I was given this opportunity by the mayor and by the city attorney to let me come over and do this. And so my commitment to you is to do the greatest job possible, however long I'm here, and then support it however I'm able, even if I'm not still in this position. I guarantee you that. I'm all in.
Great. Good to hear. My captain, the Northeast, tells me we need to amplify summer night lights.
Okay.
So how can we do that? What are your thoughts on that? What's been our successes with summer night lights, and what are some of the shortcomings?
Well, again, I'd like to say that I'm still evaluating that, quite honestly, and getting feedback. So I don't want to say necessarily what I think might be a shortcoming, other folks might think is good, and what I think might have been working based on what I hear, I'm sure folks in this room could tell me what some of those shortcomings are. I think the success of it has been that great partnership with other city departments and city entities. I have some experience with summer night lights in my role in the city attorney's office, is using it an opportunity to go out and do education and outreach on some of the things that we were doing in the city attorney's office, and I know other city departments do that. We have this terrific opportunity to employ youth in the neighborhood and at-risk youth and provide them with job training, job skills for some of them, some of the first opportunities they have for that. We've got this great opportunity that's worked very well based on everything I've heard from the LAPD about integrating officers into summer night lights and supporting it, providing an opportunity for the officers to interact with the community in perhaps a different way and in some positive ways, whether it's playing sports events with them or the officers coming in and just being present in a way rather than in an enforcement or suppression role. So I think all those things seem like they worked really well, and as a result, we've got some good, had some very good statistics in terms of crime reduction, reduction in gang crime, violent crime, homicides at the SNL sites, both citywide and at the individual sites. So I think, from what I understand from LAPD, they consider summer night lights an important part of the crime reduction that's happened in the city and that increased crime reduction that's happened during the summer months. So I think going forward, we want to continue the crime reduction part of it, but if we can increase or develop programs that the community wants and will find more effective, if we at some point could expand the number of young people we could hire as we go forward, obviously 350 youth each summer is not enough. We need more, if that's possible, whether it's through SNL or other systems and other programs. So I think it's just looking at ways we can enhance it more, and I'm open to suggestions and thoughts as that as well. And I have no doubt that this new administration is, because this will be the first summer that we're doing summer night lights under Mayor Garcetti. So I think we'll look for opportunities to enhance and improve it.
And finally,
It's corporate giving, too.
yes.
Corporate giving really keeps the Summer Night Light program afloat, let's be honest.
Well said.
Well, speaking of corporate giving, talk about reentry, how this is working or not working for the city, what your vision is, and how we make this happen. This is obviously, with the changes in state law, one of the major areas of focus and emphasis that we have.
Sure. Well, again, that's another area that I've just barely sort of tapped within the group, trying to find out what we have or haven't done in the past. I do think my experience in my former position, I know some of these issues well. I was one of the co-developers of an alternative sentencing program we had in the city attorney's office for our gang cases, and that involved partnering with a nonprofit, actually, in Councilmember Price's district. And so I think we've got to look at better ways for us to make sure that we're reaching the probation youth, as the chair pointed out, that we probably need to increase those numbers of youth that we're affecting and tapping. We need to look at ways on that reentry front, whether it's the juvenile youth coming back or young men and women coming out of jails or prisons, to make sure that both our prevention and intervention service providers know what all those resources are and are quickly accessing them for the youth that we serve through GRID. So I think I'm still learning that. I know you'll be hearing a presentation from Homeboys Industries soon, and I know they've been a real leader on reentry with this population. So I look forward to talking to them about what they see as some of the ideas, as well as any other groups that are doing it, so that we, as the Gang Reduction and Youth Development Department, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, recreate everything. We don't have to own everything. We have to make sure that we're supporting what's there, and then looking at ways that we can collaborate within the work that we already do, the intervention and prevention work. So there are some grant funds out there, and the city did receive a grant, so I'm sure soon I'll be able to report back to you about where that grant has gone, and it's just a start. It's one piece, it's one grant that came from the federal government on reentry, but I look forward to being able to provide you more information on that, and that might be a good springboard for us to see what else we can do moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. Thank you, and for your presentation.
Okay.
I think an item number, I think CLA is going to report on item number 3, but
Okay, well, I neglected to introduce
Yes, please
my
do.
colleague here, Reuben Wilson, who's the supervising attorney in the Homeland Security Public Safety Office, and he's handling the grants and contracts. And so if there were some questions on that item from our office at this point, he's been the point person working on that. So
Great.
we can certainly develop more information for you on that front.
put out those applications, baby. Let's make it work. There's a lot of grant money out there. Thanks, Ruben. Thanks for your service. And I'm hoping you guys can stay for the presentations.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Will do.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
We have a few cards on item number 1. These are, again, speaker cards that have been filled out to address item number 1 that we're on right now. I'd like to bring up William Blinky Rodriguez and Bobby Arvis. Come on up. Thank you. You can take your seats. You can take your seats. Yeah. You can take your seats. Thank you. And then after Bobby and Blinky, I'm going to call up Alex Sanchez and Perry Crouch. And just 2 minutes for the comment card.
Good afternoon. I'm excited to be here. My name is Blinky Rodriguez. I'm the Executive Director of Communities and Schools. And I'm really excited to see the sign on the front door that says Public Works / Gang Reduction. And I'm excited for many reasons, and that's tied to everything. We believe that after 25 years or longer of connecting the hip bone to the ankle bone, I think there's a lot of bones that are connected right now in this beautiful town. I did want to make a comment on the Summer Night Lights because there's the hardcore intervention factor that ties to also working the part. Right. And there's pre-Summer Night Lights and post-Summer Night Lights. After the lights go out, there's a lot of work. That was the first rub, was, hey, what happened? The lights are off. So then you got to be able to come with something. But leading up to summer, there's a lot of work to make that effective also. I'm excited about the Public Works sign because we know that whether it's reentry guys coming home from the county jail or the prison system, or it's already young men and young women that are on the streets now, the PLA is critical. The project labor agreement has teeth. We got to put teeth on it.
Right.
There's a 10% heavy barrier, and there's 30% local hire. And that's relative also to the county. That I really think we got to really vet it out. We're already working on some stuff right now. I don't think that we need to reinvent a lot of stuff. The laborers, like you mentioned, Councilman Buscaino, have been extremely supportive of it. So it's a real exciting time, but the resources there are really needed. And those really get leveraged. That's a true proactive move on individuals from different neighborhoods, man. They want to move on with their lives. They want to get a chance to make it. So that's the one piece I wanted to come up here and talk about, because there's manifestations of it now. It's happening now. It just needs some gas money to take it to the next level. And I'm sure everyone in this room has guys that are saying, hey, can you get me a job? And these are career paths. They're not just a job.
Right. Thank you so much, Blinky, for your dedication and work.
Blinky, I was talking to the unions and had a discussion. There's a lot of development going on in my district. A lot of buildings going to go up in the next 10, 15, 20 years. There's going to be a lot of jobs. It's exciting. But I want to make sure we capture everybody, that the rising tide lifts all boats. And so I was talking about how we get people that we're talking about today into the trades. And they have a traditional apprenticeship. But they were talking about that they're having trouble keeping people. People don't stay long enough, even though they buy the tools, they get them geared up, that they're not keeping them. What are the challenges that you're hearing with the apprenticeship programs that the people who drop out and don't stay with?
The main challenge is being able to have the fee to get into the union. Mm-hmm. And there's a process. People don't understand the process, and you get put on the out of work list, and then you go to work. Now, it's going to get more robust. That's better. but you also have, the situation where you got to have case managers tied to them. You have to have, we platoon all the guys we work with an integrated service delivery. So they got a case manager, they got a the hardcore gang intervention specialist that is the one that prospected that individual from the beginning. And then we tie it to a restorative justice piece where they can feel good about giving something back. A lot of them want to give something back. They know they've taken and taken and taken, but there's no covering for them to give something back. It's so for me, I think it's the proactive part of bringing opportunity, but having the structure within the individuals that are going to guide them. I mean, you're talking about the financial literacy course. You're talking about drug and alcohol. You're talking about personal development. And so those are the components that are making them more structured, that is giving them a better chance. And then it's the follow-up. You don't just get them a gig and then they blow their first paycheck and don't show back up to work. So, it's labor-intensive, but it's very doable.
It's what Father Boyle calls a sheep without a shepherd.
There you go.
We need to follow the progress of the individual and be that shepherd and not only offer your love and prayers, but offer that follow-up
Absolutely.
of being with that individual throughout
The Lord
the
said
process.
he'll leave 99 to go get one, right?
Right.
And then he also said when there's peace in the city prospers.
Right.
Yeah.
Amen. I'm sorry, you want
Got it? No. I'm just,
Okay.
because I want to continue this conversation, Bobby, with the unions and the labor movement, because there's going to be a lot of development, but we've got to, take care of those who live here in the city, who live in my district.
Right.
We're all focused district-centric, and we see these buildings going up. We're going to transform the face of this district, yet we've got to make sure that people are involved in the transformation and benefit from it.
Bobby, 2 minutes. Thank you.
In fact, in my 2 minutes, one of the things the unions have said to us, what they love about the partnership is the case management that goes on. They say, hey, we don't have people that are going to manage the situations in the home and all of that. We know we can call you when there is an incongruence somewhere and that you guys are going to manage that. As a guy who's been around a long time, I met with Tom Bradley in 1988 to bring communities to schools. This is my 25th year with CIS. Blinky and I have been partners for over 20 years. You hate to be the dinosaur, but what I don't want, and I encourage you to ponder, gentlemen, is that we not lose what land has been taken, so to speak. I mean, I go back to Community Gang Youth Services, LA Stars, LA Bridges, the Grid, and the thing is that's wonderful about the process is that we learn, we build capacity, then a new situation comes in and we lose some of the capacity. Councilman, I was pleased to be able to talk to you earlier today when we had the roundtable. One of the things that we lost between Bridges and Grid is recognizing whether or not we're going to deal with the symptom or the cause. If we're about causal intervention, then we need to start earlier and we need to work later, with older people. What's lost right now, what keeps me up at night, 25 years of doing this, is that we have kids right now that are early intervention. They're 7 years old and in the system, but because they're in the system, they do not qualify for the Grid. We need to change that. By that, I'm not saying take away money from prevention. We need prevention. But we need also to get kids very early. And right now, we have too many young people that are falling through the cracks. And from a causal perspective, who is more likely to matriculate to that lifestyle than kids that are already entered into the system? So I don't want to give up on those kids. People have said to me, who do we know to refer to you? It's easy. The kids that everybody's running from, not to.
Right.
And that's something that I think is honorable for our work.
Thank you both for your presentation and for your ongoing commitment. 20-plus years. God bless you.
Thank you, Bobby.
Alex Sanchez and... Oh, yes, sir.
I had one question.
Mr.
please.
Price.
I appreciate both comments, but you made a comment about, the post, the pre and the post.
Yes.
I think Blinky did.
Yeah.
But you both certainly can respond to it. The pre and post, summer night lights experience, because it doesn't just happen, but there's something that happens before. Well, what needs to happen before that we're not doing? What needs to happen after that maybe lead to the next?
Yeah, well, the before is the ability for the gang intervention specialists, CIWs, whatever term we're going to call it next. I know we deal with hardcore gangs, and people in this room deal with it. It's us doing our job. us knocking down the fires, us being able to deal with rumor control, all leading up to that summer to make that a safe haven as much as possible, and the work that we do within a half a mile to a mile around that park. That's essential to the success. So that's really on the pre-site. So all that work's going on before the lights get turned on. And then after the lights are gone, we have to be prepared to augment it with something. It might not be at that level because the Summer Night Lights has been an excellent program.
Sure.
Nobody will argue that. So, but it's the sustainability of being able to create still a presence within the community. And then the other thing too, I got to take a chance to thank the Grid Office and the Grid Foundation because Father Greg Boyle has done tattoo removal forever, but their lines are backed up like the 405, and the Grid Foundation gave us some dollars, and we started a tattoo removal program in the San Fernando Valley. So now people from the valley don't got to come all the way out here. So I wanted to get that plug in.
45
Thank
people
you.
already in a few months.
Fantastic. Okay, Alex, and then Mr. Perry Crouch, please come to the mic.
Just to add to that, I work in partnership with we're in the same office with Sunrise Community Outreach Center that's been doing tattoo removal programs in Los Angeles, Pico Union, Westlake area, and Echo Park. And a lot of people that are in the waiting lists of Homeboy Industry end up coming over here to our office and get treated sometimes because they need it. And they need it for reentry purposes. They need it for employment. They need it for advancement and opportunities in their current employment, where they want to move out of the warehouse into the front of the office. So tattoo removal has been a critical piece in our line of work that we've been doing for over 12 years in our community. So I will push on that to look in the community, identify those agencies that have tattoo removal programs, and not reinvent other projects when there are some that already exist that could be subcontracted and will reduce the cost. But also, it is important to remember that when you have people coming out of prisons, it becomes a constant struggle for gang interventionists to kind of get those individuals with program when they're coming in and with different ideas of what's going on or how to run their neighborhoods. So a constant fire that's happening. So I think that it's important to be in contact also with California in regards to what's happening in the prison system and how that could affect our communities here locally. We know that there's been an agreement to end hostilities in California, they're coming out of Pelican Bay. That's supposed to be that should be looked at and supported as well, and see how that could be brought into our communities. The other thing that it's an issue in the community I work with is the migrant community of Central American youth, and having Homeland Security running this agency becomes an issue in regards of the fear factor that comes behind Homeland Security with ICE and all those other governmental agencies.
Thank you, Alex, but it's worth having the discussion moving forward if indeed that's the department is going to remain in that unit.
There's a language challenge here, Alex. There's Federal Homeland Security, which is ICE, and other aspects of it. There's state, and then there's the city of LA. And one of the challenges Alex talks about is a challenge we had. We had the fires in San Diego about 10 years ago. And we have FEMA. And we have California Emergency Management Agency. And we're going to move that under Homeland Security, and people didn't realize that the minute it says Homeland Security, all the immigrants go the other direction.
Exactly.
And so we frustrate the whole purpose. So if our whole purpose is to capture youth, and you say, well, you've got to go to Homeland Security, at-risk youth may say, okay, well, that's LA City, but immigrants are going to say Homeland Security, that means I got to go another direction. And so we have to think about that in terms of branding and naming this. This is a fight I had with Pedro Nava for 6 years over how we named our emergency management of the state. And now you'll see we have a Cal EMA versus a Homeland Security, simply because migrants will just turn around and go another direction because they're...
Exactly.
And this was for emergency fire services. And people will not go because they're going to get deported, and that's worse than missing out on the services you have a right to. And in many instances, Now we have DACA students. We have people waiting immigration reform, new arrivals. And so we have a whole group of people, and many of them citizens too, who have rights to be here, rights to those services. We benefit from them taking those services that we're turning away. So it's a great thought, Alex. Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Sure, and then we're seeing an escalation of migrant youngsters that are coming to the country unaccompanied, that already may be involved in those gang activities in their homeland. We're looking at it. We've gotten calls from Hawthorne High School. We've gotten calls from South Hawkins High School and RFK Learning Complex that there's this population in there and they don't know how to deal with it. So in regards of having gang interventionists through the grid, they need to understand the different dynamics that impacts different areas of Los Angeles. And the other issue has been that, because of the gang injunctions, although the city has taken them as a success, has been a failure in regards of pushing gangs out of those communities to other communities. And I don't know, in the evaluation process, how could that be demonstrated? If we're having an escalation of gangs in San Bernardino now that were from LA, in Lancaster they were from LA, and other places like that, that we find that those cities are finding themselves dealing with the gangs, and they're calling out to agencies down here to try to go out there to help mediate because they believe we're the experts, and we are the experts that we don't need in the first place to export the problem out of our communities.
And again, that's the purpose of this committee of hammering out these types of issues. And we're looking at the department and working hand in hand with Mayor Garcetti and the department, not only of improving the services, but also expanding some of the opportunities as well. Thank you so much. Dr. Perry Crouch, thanks for being here. You've done some great work in Watts, the Watts Gang Task Force. You're on boots on the ground experience. Well, thank you for your service, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Councilman. What's up, friend? Long ways. Both of my friends, we go a long ways back. Bobby snitched on us. Snitched on us, boy. We've been around a long time. I've been around next week 29 years. Me and Bobby and Blinky, we've been around this.
Right.
We just seen it go through all kind of changes. One of the things that my concern is me and Blinky and Bashir and them went to the last people about putting together where they assured us that we was going to have what's called an oversight committee that consisted of myself, Blinky, and the guys that's been in this, that knows all, that's been through everything, that knows the ins and out, to be able to look at the new ones that's coming in and to give them the tools to operate out here and not get their license to operate revoked. That didn't happen. And in fact, we were disrespected real bad. None of our ideas was taken into place. People were just making decisions and wanting us to carry out those decisions that was costly. I've been round and round with the councilman. We put together some good things, and I'm always in touch with Bobby and Blinky and all of the ones that's the frontline soldiers that's out here on the ground. As you were speaking about the Summer Lights program, the pre is good. Getting it, when you get it intact, when you shut it down, then the problems come back. So we have to figure out a way to have ongoing activities for this population beyond Summer Night Lights. And then when you're talking about that Homeland Security, because, in the Watts community, we're about 85% now of our Latino brothers. And so when you're talking about coming in under the auspices of gang reduction, they hear Homeland Security, you're right, Councilman, they go the other way.
Yep.
And so we have to figure out a way to have gang intervention, even though it's under Homeland, to stand on its own, so we can bring that
Yeah.
population in.
Thank
So
you.
I'm ready to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Crouch. Mr.
Dr.
Price.
Crouch, thank you for your work in South LA, in Watts, and I know you've been around the country sharing your wisdom thoughts. Certainly an issue that comes up frequently, are the black-brown challenges. Talk about some successes. Talk about areas that we can really impact. These issues. Folks got the same problems, the same concerns. Just happen to come from different places. How do we bring people together around these issues?
A lot of that is media hype. I'm just being real with you. We go to the same grocery stores. We go to the movies. We're in the parks. We ain't shooting and killing each other on sight. They may have one incident, and they'll blow it way up like, oh, the blacks and brown. We go to school together. Do we have a little tension sometime, little scrimmages? Yes. But if the world look at it, it's like, oh, every day you look at, oh, the blacks and browns is killing it, and that's not the truth. When we do good things, like when we go out and do things with Blinky, we never get the media. You know that.
Right.
We never get the media.
Come on.
When we're doing these good things to portray it a different way.
Right.
We have the same issues. We poor, we disadvantaged, okay, and we have good contributions. And our main thing is pushing the contributions and working together under what's called cultural diversity, where we do things and we let our Latino brothers cook. They bring what they allow us to bring in the soul food and do what we need to do. So it's constant communication. That's what people don't talk about. We talk all the time. And yes, can it be better? Yes, it can be better, but people have to take a stand and come out and visualize the good stuff that African Americans and the Latinos are doing together. But every time something happens, they want to blow that up like, oh, they finna have, it's World War Z. It ain't no World War Z. We love, it's not World War Z the way that they see it. And it's just a constant communication and us working together,
Right.
And knowing that we love each other and we got the same issues.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Price, for raising that issue. And thank you, Mr. Crouch.
Gil, Mr.
Thank you.
Sedil, you have any?
Well, so I'm glad you brought that up. It's a different theme. It's one that's perplexed me, and I was so happy to hear you say that. That's why I smiled. So much of this is media hype. So that's a good question. How much of this is media hype?
Right.
There's a lot of black on black violence, a lot of brown on brown violence. We know that. I led a union called Local 660
Right.
that was predominantly African American. Every day in this city, every day in this county, every day in this state, African Americans and Latinos work together, live together, cook together. Sure are making a lot of babies out of General Hospital. A whole bunch out of General Hospital. There's a lot of older African American women taking care of little little Latino babies, and a lot of Latina nanas taking care of little African American kids now.
That's it.
Their grandkids. So that is 99%. The media grabs one story, and then it's on the front page, and then professionals come in, and I call them professionals because they come in and they exploit that. And then they'll have a conference, and then they'll ask for funding, and then and they take away from all the good work that's been going on every single day. So I was so glad to hear you say that. That's why I smiled, because it's so much media hype, and it's hard to convince people because that's what they like to sell, stories, and ignore every day all the interactions, the interfaces take on all day, every day in the city and county. It's an incredible place to live.
Thank you.
Thanks, Perry. Next two speakers, Alberto Casares and Carla Fuentes Quiros. Then our final speaker on item 1 will be Kim McGill. Alberto, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Alberto Casares. I'm a youth organizer with the Youth Justice Coalition, and I just want to talk a little bit about how important it was for me to have a mentor in my life, or like an intervention worker as well. And I remember being on I was raised in the Mar Vista Gardens, and it wasn't easy to see outside my block, you know. And intervention worker help bring those opportunities into my life and open up those doors to see beyond my block and to see that I could do something productive, right? So, and because it's a real need when we need like opportunities, and I just think about all the friends that could have been free or could have been alive if they would have had more resources open to them. You know, I feel like I was one of the lucky ones. So, if I just could see many lives being saved, by having more jobs, you know, by having even enrolled to school or even having a safer place to be in, like a community center. And with that, the YJC has the LA for Youth campaign, which is also known as the 1% campaign, which is like 1% of all law enforcement money. It's just that 1% equals $100 million, and with that we could have 25,000 youth summer jobs, 500 intervention workers in the street, and open up 50 youth centers across LA. So I feel like that would save many lives, and also have a lot more intervention workers on the street who do real work and hold down the real peace, because more police officers didn't help me succeed, you know, but a mentor and an intervention worker and somebody who cared did, you know. And also about the gang junction, touched a little bit, like I was served with a gang junction, so I can't even walk around my neighborhood and let my friends know that there's an exit process, because we could go to jail for that, even if I'm letting them know that there's an exit process, because most of them don't know there's an exit process. I didn't even know there was an exit process to the gang junction until I started working with YJC. Yeah, so, yeah, thank you.
Listen, we're proud of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Your story resonates with this city, and we want the best for you, and we're proud of you. And what you're doing is commendable. You are leading the effort, and for that we're grateful for your commitment, and we want the best for you. You got a great story. We got some work to do, don't we?
Yeah.
Great. Hi.
Hi.
Carla?
Yeah.
Fuentes.
Quiros.
Quiros.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Carla Fuentes. I'm a youth organizer with the Youth Justice Coalition, and I wanted to speak on the essentials of intervention, and why they are important. Because when I exited from juvenile hall, I was put in many probation schools. I went to 9 probation schools within Lakewood, and most of the time we were around probation staff, and most of them were gang unit probation staff. So they would always carry guns and tasers, and they would always threaten to violate us, and if we don't go to school, we'll get violated, and for any little thing, will just be another violation, and it'll just be a little cycle, because we'll return to juvenile hall. And when I got out I was with Lakewood for 3 years, in and out of probation schools, and at my last school that I was at Free LA High, which is part of the Youth Justice Coalition, we have this intervention worker his name is Ed, and he always holds it down for us. He's a great worker, and many of the students get along with him, as he has a story that is similar to many of the students' stories. He's always there, and he stays over when after school's over. He's there. He notices if there's a problem with the students. He notices all that, and he's just an example of a great intervention worker, and an example of many people that are trying to get out of the system. He's a great example that you could, and you could help other youths at the same time.
Thank you, Carla. Great story.
Thank you.
Continue what you're doing. We're proud of you.
Thank you.
Kim.
My lawyer.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I really feel that this council committee, not only now but has been in the past years, our best hope for really bringing new programming to LA and exporting that program to the rest of the state and the rest of the county, as well as the rest of the nation. So many of the things that I would expect from this committee I know are beyond your purview, but I think your leadership and your discussion of these items has a huge impact on the rest of the state and nation. So I'm going to just try to list as many examples and recommendations as I can. Under gang suppression, Despite the fact that we've made real grounds to create GRID and to support the intervention workers on the ground, we're still the county that incarcerates more people than any place else in the world, and still has the largest juvenile halls, the largest county jails, and feed into the largest state prison system. So I think this committee should focus very strongly on the implementation of 458, which now just passed by Governor Brown and into law in January, makes it a right for all young people under the age of 18 to be notified if they're put on the gang database, for their families to be notified, and also be able to walk into any police department and ask if they're on it. Similarly, young people and their families now have a right to an appeal process. If that's not rolled out to our law enforcement...
Appeal if they're on that list?
To appeal if they're on that list and have a clear and fair way to get off. If that's not rolled out to law enforcement departments, starting with LAPD, it's unlikely to be implemented. Secondly, we've now looked at the gang injunctions going all the way back to 1982 that were started in LA County and now been again exported all over the state and the country. We now have the data to prove that they have not been put in places that were experiencing the highest levels of violence, but where the area is experiencing the highest levels of gentrification development, or in some cases an influx of people of color into a traditionally white neighborhood. We see this as an incredible policy of racial profiling. It has led to massive displacement of communities into areas of the county and even areas of the state where there's less resources, less jobs, and where families are forced to migrate every day long distances for jobs. Similarly, with GRID, I think there's an amazing opportunity to keep it as a youth development department and to even expand that moving forward. We're the only major city in the country not to have a Department of Youth Development. To put GRID under Homeland Security not only has the major impacts to immigrant communities, as has already been mentioned, but means that for us it ties us into a federal department where Homeland Security money I can't speak for nationwide, but when we track the money here, it was really operating more and has operated more as an Office of Homeboy Security, where a majority of the money is going into gang suppression. So it's the wrong department to put it into, and for the permanent leadership of GRID, it should come from youth development intervention community and not from the law enforcement community. And we have other recommendations too. We'd really welcome an opportunity for intervention workers and young people to present to you in a more longer format about the data we've collected and the solutions that they have.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you so much for your ongoing commitment as well. Okay, with item number 1, we're going to note and file and move on to item, thank you, moved by Mr. Cedillo, and that'll be the order. Okay, we're going to take item 2 now. 2A. Can you read that into the record, Michael?
Yes, item number 2 is a verbal report from A Better LA and Homeboy Industries on the respective organizations' gang prevention, intervention, and reduction efforts.
Thank you. I want to call up Rowan and Matt Salenza from A Better LA. A Better LA was founded by former USC and current and now Super Bowl championship coach of Seattle Seahawks, Coach Pete Carroll. I remember when Coach Carroll, then USC coach, I believe it was in late 2005, when all the senior lead officers citywide, we were all called to the Manchester Academy in Westchester, and Coach Carroll came in all fired up about launching a Better LA, and shared with the senior lead officers and the importance of having the buy-in from the men and women of the LAPD on gang intervention models, and here we are today, an incredible organization. They do, of course, gang intervention and gang prevention work independently of the city and of the GRID office. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. We're going to have 2 10-minute presentations, one A Better LA and the other Homeboy Industries, and we'll kick off with A Better LA.
Well, first off, I want to say thank you so much for allowing us to present to you. It is such an honor. We are so excited to be a part of what makes this city great. And I think leading A Better LA, there's no better time because LA is on an upswing. There's great things happening in our city. Crime has gone down. And I really, truly believe that A Better LA is a key part of that. We're going to keep our presentation very short. I'm going to give you a very quick, brief overview and answer some of the questions about what makes us unique and how we operate. Akil Bashir to my right is going to talk about our training facilities and what we do. He is the founder and the president of PCITI, which is our training institute. And to my left, Matt Slens will finish up and kind of wrap all of it up, but we will keep it short. But as you said, our organisation was founded by Pete Carroll as a response to the devastation that gang violence was reaping on this city. I actually came to LA right at that time, and I remember the devastation. This city was not in the upward trend that it is now. And what Pete envisioned over 10 years ago was an organisation that would support grassroots operations to restore peace and save lives. And that's really all we do. We are focused on restoring peace and saving lives in this city. And I always spend a lot of time explaining, as a privately funded organisation, explaining what we do. So I'm going to go through some of the big questions. See, A Better LA works with Indigenous community leaders, people who are in their own communities, who are leaders, and we work with them to create safer environments for children and families to help rebuild those communities, make them a safer place. So the very first question I always get asked is, why is it Indigenous leaders? Can't we just send anyone out there to do this work? Well, number one, each neighbourhood we understand has its own culture, has its own climate, has its own history, and any attempt to make effective, sustainable change from an outside group is just inefficient and much more expensive. What we do is we work with a local credible leader. We call this somebody who has a license to operate, credibility to affect change in a positive way in their community. And we have found that this is by far the most effective way to create sustainable and genuine change in these communities. The next question that I'm always asked is, how does A Better LA work with these leaders? A Better LA engages groups that are currently doing intervention, people who are current leaders in their community with credibility with both the public safety sector, meaning law enforcement, fire, the entire sector of public safety, as well as the intervention community. But before we fund anyone, every single one of our intervention workers go through a comprehensive 160-hour training over 18 weeks. From there, I always am asked, how do you govern this? How do you have governance over 42 intervention workers that have a regional approach? We stretch all of South LA. Well, A Better LA maintains an incredible advisory board that oversees all of our work. The advisory board has representations from LAPD, the LA Sheriff's Department, County Probation, County Parks, City, the Human Relations Commission here at the city, and community leaders. On top of that, every single group is required to give us our weekly and monthly reporting. So we are up to date on what they're doing. These things are cross-checked with city and community officials to make sure that we have credibility in it. But furthermore, all active intervention workers who have graduated the 18-week training, they continue on to recertification and continued education classes to make sure we are working with the best of the best. The last two questions that I'm always asked is, where are we working? I think the easiest way to say it is, we are the fabric that goes between all of the grid zones. We are a regional response, so everywhere from Gardena to downtown, from mid-city over to Florence Firestone, we have intervention workers that are creating a network that helps keep South LA safe and is doing I can't express what a significant work they're doing. And then when we talk about the work, we have a model of Intervention Plus. We're not just talking about traditional intervention methods. As part of our training institute, we talk about identifying what your community actually needs, from school-based intervention, safe passage, rumor control. We even have some of our groups that are formally invited with an MOU from local schools to come on board inside the schools, providing the intervention work that is needed to address some of the black and brown issues that are active inside some of the schools, that 1% that was discussed earlier. So in closing, what we do is we have a foundation of engaging Indigenous leaders in their own communities who have credibility to affect change. We give them the training, the protocol, the structure to have a common language with the safety sector. We maintain a recertification process and an accountability process, and we have reportable results with a regional approach. And I believe that we make an incredibly significant difference in this city, which is unbelievable. Whether you're at Locke High School, Region 2 Charter, Gardena High, Duke Ellington, Diego Rivera, so on and so on, our workers are the ones making sure kids are able to come to and from. And I'll hand over to Akil Bashira, who is, we consider him a part of LA, he's a Better LA. He's also the founder and president of Maximum Force and our training institute.
Thank you, Rowan. I love your Italian accent, by the way.
South Italy.
South Italy. And Akil, former firefighter with the Los Angeles Fire Department as well.
Yes.
And thank you for your service, and you're doing incredible work. I actually want to acknowledge you quickly and identify the relationship that you have with the Los Angeles Police Department when it comes to not only training the gang intervention workers, but also training the officers as well. So,
Thank
sir,
you.
the floor is yours.
Appreciate you. First of all, I want to salute all of you for attempting to put this together and move the process forward. I also want to give salutes out to many of my colleagues in the back who are doing outstanding work, who understand the collaborative process. And then lastly, my team of some of my team of experts, gentlemen in the back are part of our leadership team and instructor team. Would you gentlemen please stand up?
Please stand. Fantastic. Thank you.
We were approached by Better LA about 10 years ago to assist in their process of where they were going with a Better LA. I do have to say it's been an outstanding relationship. We have partnered on numerous things with intervention, and I should say...
There you go.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. I should say comprehensive intervention. You know, most people, when they talk about intervention, they want to isolate and pigeonhole into gang intervention. If you're not dealing with the full perspective of community intervention, dealing with that needs of the community, and providing the expertise as well as the templates that will move that community forward through self-reliance and self-determination, you do that community a disservice. What we have attempted to do with the Institute, and let me say this, pictures were far better than words. I'm going to try to sum this up in a few minutes because we definitely want to hear from Rowan. And again, I salute the outstanding board members and advisory board members from A Better LA. They have allowed us to do some things that we normally wouldn't have been able to do and go in some arenas. As we move forward with the training process, first and foremostly, we apply 4 processes. Most people deal with just the public health aspect of dealing with intervention or violence intervention. We use all 4 aspects, from the human rights on to the criminal justice system. I'm not going to go depth into that. Our 160-hour course basically deals with 6 core proficiencies, and you see those listed below. Really, I'm going to have to present later where I can really get in depth with you guys, but again, we're just basically going to create the skeletal framework. As you move forward, and I must stress this, any training that's going to be effective must be practitioner-based, whether it's academic training, whether it's intervention training. If it's not coming from the evidence perspective of the engagement in the street, it is not going to be effective. You cannot do this type of work out of the sociology book, page 103. You're not going to get it. You don't have the reference points, and in a crisis situation, we always go to those fundamental reference points. One of the things we knew we had to do in the PCITI, the Training Institute, we had to create the ability to bring the people who were on the street who had a dysfunctional thinking process, and we had to change that process. We had to provide options to change that process, and then we had to make sure that there was systematic structure, operational protocol, SOPs. This is not the type of work to where you've been doing for 20 or 30 years, and because I know all the homies, I'm good. If we're going to professionalize this work, there are certain standards, there are operational protocol, there is dictate that must be there, and we have to make sure that the accountability within that structure comes from those protocols. So that is a training process. Moving forward, just real quick, If what you put together in a training institute is not replicatable and not duplicatable, if you only can work that in the comfort zone of the given city, etc., again, you do yourself a disservice. If we're going to truly affect and deal with counterbalancing the ills and canceristic elements of violence, we've got to be able to drop expertise in besieged cities, creating protocol and creating a universal network to where those cities can operate. That's the regional approach.
Keep going.
Okay. We put the regional approach together, and then we tested the regional approach, and then we decided to see if it could be moved outside of Los Angeles. Los Angeles being the base, and because we have given so much negatives, now let's try to give something back on the positive. Let's try to create these templates and put them back in these given cities. So as we move forward, once they graduate out of the PCITI, it does not stop there. Then they're moved into the union-based PPCA, which is the Professional Peacekeepers Collaborative Alliance. From there, they move into the possibility of putting themselves into the leadership structure. From there, they go into advanced certification, which is across the board. We have 13 levels of certification. Then we produce instructors out of that, back to finally giving them the ability to regionally go across not only the city, but across the country doing this work. And the fundamental part of what we do is we create a universal language that people accept in the process. So as we move forward, and I'm going to jump here real quick, we have done something unique by putting our people into the public safety system. When you look at emergency responders, when you look at fire department, police department, etc., they understand protocol. They understand skill set. They don't understand, I know all the homies. They want to see how you operate. So in the process of the Institute, everything we do is based on protocol. We built a protocol through actual street engagement. From there, we create lesson plans, and then we debrief and making sure every aspect of that protocol is implementable, and then it goes into a manual of operation. So we're able to bring to the table an actual code of conduct in terms of the written format of how our people are supposed to operate. Okay. Moving forward, in the public safety system, there are certain key things that every public safety expert will tell you that they utilize. These are the common denominators. Protocol, a critical incident response mechanism, the ICS system, which is the incident command system, and the operational blueprint, which is the lesson plans. We've taken that whole structure and we've applied it to the hardcore community intervention first responder. Notice I didn't say gang interventionists. Our people are gang experts, and we don't shy away from that. But more importantly, they are community intervention first responders because of their certification. If you look at our certification, our people are not only trained in violence expertise, they're trained in CISM, which is critical incident response management. They're trained in first aid, CPR, ADE, etc. They're all trained in family response certification, and then they're part, when they get certified, of a national board of experts that goes through the certification process, of providing that certification process. Our testing, our standards are extremely high. Not only do they have to be able to implement situational scenarios, they have to be able to answer quick questions, they have to be able to pass a test, and it's a constant recertification process. I'm going to fly through the rest of this because we definitely want to get to Matt. This picture just showed where the people fall, and I wish I had a little more time to explain it. That's the ICS system. Real quickly, bringing the key people to the table. Look, you've got to bring those that are really doing the violence in a community. You've got to get them to the table. You've got to get them to buy into the mechanism. You've got to give them a structure to buy into. And then more importantly, they've got to learn to collaborate through a process. Our people eat together. They sleep together. They implement scenarios together. We knew if we can keep them in a room that size and get them to work together on all them fronts, we could take that to the streets. That's exactly what we were able to do. Multidisciplinary collaboration. If you're not dealing with experts outside of your own expertise, it's amazing. I've been doing this work for 43 years. The more I'm out there, the more I realize I don't know, and I need to learn more. So you constantly in a state of listening. You've got to bring your experts, and then people have to stay in their damn lanes in terms of where they are going to go. Don't go all over the map. Stay where you best. Let's form the collaborative and let's move the process forward. If we're not cause-oriented, we'll never get there. The cause orientation checks the individuality that always stops the work from moving forward. Let me sum this up. We took it on the national level. You see, Pete, this was in actually El Salvador, where we were just last week, something that Brother Alex put together, Alex Sanchez, et cetera, dealing with the gang truce. I'm going to fly through these pictures. Again, real quickly, here, you have to bring people back to a state of normality. That is the core of real intervention work. I don't care what you hear from everybody else. If you do not get people back to a semblance of normality where they're able to function to some degree outside of the crisis, you do yourself a disservice. And that's where your training comes in. That's where part of the process of that psychological dysfunctionality transformation has to occur. Pictures real quick. Critical response mechanism. Our people are trained, that we have our own blueprints. That's the 4W+H concept. For dealing with violence, this is not arbitrary. Violence is a science. You've got to be able to roll there. Again, class, working with the people outside. You've got to take people and put them under pressure. You've got to put them in the situation to see what they're going to do, and then you have to create the mechanism, once you see what they're going to do, how they should operate. You've got to give people instructions. Again, in the streets, graduation. I'm going to finish up here and take you to the international perspective. We deal, and I need to stress this, the core of our people are hardcore interventionists from the street with LTOs, but we also train, as the councilman we have a specialized course with the LA City Fire Department where we trained all their people in Street Survival 101. We trained mental health, we trained social services, we train across the board because, again, if we can create a common language with all these individuals involved, I'm going to better understand how you operate. I might not agree with everything, but at least I will know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And that has been a real impediment moving forward in the process. With the emergency responders, they don't buy into the fact that you know all the homies. They want to know operational structure and operational protocol. Lastly here, community programs, you've got to be vested in the community, back to dealing with community needs if you're not in that community. And then lastly, we took our program internationally. That's Africa, working with the kids, and finishing this up. These are the national pictures, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia. We have those cities that are utilizing the defined protocol that we set up in with the PCITI and with our partnership with A Better LA, which has been outstanding. And again, teachers, part of the fire department training, part of the police training. Our students come from, that's our all-female intervention team, and our students come from around the globe. And that's it.
So I think I think you can see how important a true structure and a protocol behind everything we do is. Not take up too much more of your time. I will hand over to Matt, because the other part of what we do is we are a privately funded organization. So while we are having an incredible effect on the streets, we are engaging the entire city to get behind it to make it possible over the last 10 years.
Matt, you're a board member?
I am the board chair, yes.
Board chair, and you're doing incredible work and reaching out to partners to help keep A Better LA afloat, literally, right?
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll be brief. I don't have slides and I don't have notes. I'm just going to speak from the heart quickly. First of all, I have incredible respect and admiration for the hardcore community outreach workers, not only within A Better LA, but across the board in Los Angeles. The work they do in partnership with public officials, law enforcement, and the private sector is very unique in and of itself, and I find that to be the type of organization that I want to put my time and my dollars behind, and that's why I'm sitting here today. So I give them all the respect in the world. And my next quick point is that I think we all know that we're in a very unique place right now. And we're doing a lot of work to try to figure out how to bring this all together to reach your final goal of no more gang homicides or a peaceful environment, because that's the only way we can operate. When communities are crippled with violence, there's no way they can operate. And I believe personally that the solution is sitting right in front of us, and the solution is maintaining these organizations and also building partnerships, collaborative partnerships, both public and private. You know, these guys have been doing this work, you know, Akil for 40 some odd years, Blinky and his crew, and everyone else that I hear from and I meet. You know, we need to harness that energy, and I think A Better LA has done an incredible job over a 10-year period of building a structure that will house this type of mechanism. And, you know, I'd be hard-pressed to think that other organizations didn't have the same kind of mechanics, but I believe that we have a very unique opportunity to get behind what these folks are doing. And, I commit my time, my effort, and my money, and I ask that the city officials do the same alongside of me and the other board members and donors, and we can get this right. This is our moment in history. And, timing is everything, and I believe that, all the stars are lined up, and we have an opportunity to build a collaborative network around this city and this state that can be used anywhere else in the world. And that's what gets me to this table and to work every day. So thanks for the time,
Thank
guys.
you, Matt. Thanks so much for all your hard work. And thank you, Better LA. I'd like to now call up Homeboy Industries.
And was an excellent choice for the grid, too. I just wanted to get that in there.
Thanks, Akil. As we all know, Homeboy Industries was founded by Father Greg Boyle. They provide reentry and job training services for former gang members, a component of of gang reduction that's not currently provided through the mayor's grid office. I had an opportunity to spend some time with Tom and his team and Father Greg Boyle not too long ago at the Homegirl Cafe. And incredible work. And then every day at 9 o'clock, what do we do? That prayer?
Morning thought of the day.
Thought of the day. That was just inspiring. I'll never forget that experience. And I want to thank each and every one of you in Homeboy Industries and to our Homeboy Diner here at City Hall for providing us with some great food. But more importantly, what you're doing is providing opportunities for former gang members, and for that we're grateful. I'll turn it over to Tom to say a few words.
That'd be great. Thank you for having us, and appreciate you having a committee meeting to talk about this important topic. With me is Veronica Vargas, who's been with Homeboy Industries for 8 years as Director of External Affairs, and Hector Verdugo, who's Associate Executive Director of Homeboy Industries. You've been here
About 7 years.
about 7 years. As you know, Councilman, I've been here about a year, and so I still get to claim the new person role of bragging on behalf of the agency and being its chief cheerleader, as well as being its advocate as we go forward.
Right.
And in your dialogue about what this committee's about and what you're trying to solve, certainly reentry. We're glad to hear you talk about reentry as a key component of it. And on the first page of our deck, we have what our mission statement is. It's to provide hope, training, and support to formerly gang-involved and previously incarcerated men and women, and allowing them to redirect their lives and become contributing members of our society. In short, the organizational impact is about improving public safety, creating healthy communities, breaking the intergenerational cycle of violence, and transforming lives. And really about transforming lives, if you talk about reentry, what you're trying to do is get someone who has had a broken life into being a contributing member of society and really creating citizens. And that's what this transformation is about, and that's what reentry is about, and that's what Homeboys does, is it has a unique way of providing reentry services. We've had a chance to talk about my public safety background before I showed up at Homeboy Industries a year ago. And I got to tell you, in the business world, as I see the folks coming out of prisons and jails and entering Homeboy Industries and trying to get a job here, they're not ready to have jobs in the outside world. There's still a lot of work they got to do internally for themselves to transform themselves personally before they're able to be good employees of any other company. So true reentry takes a long time, and it takes a lot of work. Page 2 is really what we talk about. We like talking about our individual success stories of the people we transform. But without a doubt, we also run the agency by the numbers. And the folks at UCLA have conducted a study on our agency over the past couple of years. And in short, we have a 70% success rate of our people who graduate through our program. Nationally, that compares to a national success rate of about a 30%. And that compares also to what happens just in the state of California of having 30%. So that means someone coming through our program, 70% of those will be transformed into, in our words, good citizens, but really the technical definition is they're not going to be incarcerated under new charges. So the point is they're able to get through our program, go out and be good functioning members of a society. Look, we do this in the context of a therapeutic environment, and each of you had a chance to sort of experience Homeboy Industries. And it takes an 18-month program to make it work, but it takes not judging them as they walk into the door, is knowing that there's goodness in them and nurturing that goodness. And so it is a complete effort to make a positive environment, make it a comfortable environment, an environment where they see folks like themselves who are being successful.
So the Haynes Foundation has funded a 5-year study that's being conducted by UCLA. And some of their findings, the 3 contextual characteristics that have been associated with the decrease in misconduct and reincarceration and recidivism outcomes are contributed to our community-based milieu, where we provide therapeutic attachment and unconditional positive regard. We provide positive relationships, both through their ongoing process and informal mentorship, and our flexibility of the way we individually tailor our services. Next slide is our community and our programs. We have 2 categories. Trainees are those who are employed in our 18-month program, and then we have community clients who are not employed but are there to seek and benefit from the services that we offer. The goals are simple. We want a community that will experience greater domestic and familial safety and stability. We want a community to be able to cope with stressful and traumatic life events in safe and healthy ways. And we want our community to be more prepared for outside employment. Next slide is a breakdown of our comprehensive therapeutic model, which includes case management and secure base, which is the equivalent of a multidisciplinary team, mental health and substance abuse outpatient services, curriculum and training, employment services, which include work readiness and placement, restorative justice, job training, a legal services referral program, we're a crisis intervention drop-in center for individuals and family members, and we have a meal program where we offer free breakfast and a $2 lunch so that they don't have to eat flaming hot Cheetos and tapatio sauce. The next slide is our movement of trainees, and our 18-month program is divided into 3 phases. The 0 to 3 months is the orientation phase, and that's where we determine whether they're ready for the program or if they're just there for a job. The 4th through 9th month is the immersion period. The 10th through the 18th is the transformational, where then we successfully transition them to outside employment. Next slide is our curriculum and training. We have 6 different categories. We offer 45 different classes. Some of the classes under life skills are domestic violence batters group for men. We have a Project Fatherhood partnership. We have offer parenting classes, a baby and me class, where children learn to communicate with their children in a nonviolent manner. Our substance abuse outpatient, where we address and help with setting of the foundation for sobriety. And under support groups, very unique class is Criminals and Gang Members Anonymous, where we talk about addiction to the lifestyle. Our next slide is our 2013 academic progress. We offer one-on-one tutoring and tutoring classes. Our charter high school, we have graduated 36 this year, and we have 24 people who have passed their GED. And then we have 20 people who have enrolled in community college. Our next slide is our annual service utilization, and that's broken down by the 6 different services that we offer. Case management, we have curriculum, the ones that I already mentioned here. And I just want to highlight that they're separated by different categories, whether they're on probation, parole, both probation and parole, post-probation and parole, and high risk. The next slide is a breakdown where we highlight the grid zone areas. As you can see, we cover every single grid zone.
Yeah, and so next set of slides is sort of our economic analysis, right, for what we do. And look, we have a 26-year track record of transforming lives. And what we do fundamentally to our program, we have community clients and we have people we hire. We call trainees. And our trainees, we give them a job, and we give them a minimum wage job, and they work on themselves most of the day, but also they learn job skills and they work within our businesses. So in total, it costs us about $30,000 a year to give a person a job between the wages and all the services we provide them. And look, the cost of incarceration is anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000, right? And so, from a pure economic standpoint, it's a good bet. of the work we're doing, because if you take the number of people who go, thousands of people who go through our facility in a year over a number of years' time, and so in any one year's time, you take the number of people we serve times our success rate of 70%, times incarceration costs of $50,000, we feel we're contributing $10 million to the city of LA and the county of LA in terms of cost reduction that they don't have to bear because we're able to transform those lives as we move forward. And look, we're a privately funded organization. You know, currently this year, only 3% of our funding comes from any form of government. So it's our businesses that contribute about 40% of our total. It's donors and foundations who support the rest of it. And what that means is we're able to sort of have impact without sort of being a burden on government. And where we stand as an organization is we're a scalable organization. We can serve more people. We can transform more lives. We can re-enter more ex-gang members into our society if we had more funds to do it. And we have the know-how. It's just the question is how do you grow and how do you move forward? And it's an organization that clearly has 26 years of success. Father Greg and the team have great knowledge of gang life and what gangs are about and what prevention does and what intervention does. And we've sort of wanted to focus on reentry and transformation of people. When they're ready to get out of that gang life, we're here for them. So there's no doubt in our mind the 120,000 gang members you talked about in the opening speech, they all know who Homeboys Industries is, and they all know when they want to get better, leave that lifestyle, that we're there for them and that we are the hope that they have.
Thank you, sir. Great presentation. Thanks, Veronica. Thanks so much, Tom. Mr. D, any questions? Good.
You mentioned 3% government support. I'm looking here, all your goals. So your goal is to get to 20%.
Right.
Okay, and what would that mean for you guys in terms of what you're servicing? It's 6 times more than you're getting from government right now.
Right, sure.
So what would that mean in terms of the output on that?
Yeah, I'd like to answer that 2 ways. First way is directly to your question, that would mean if we get 20% support, we probably could increase the number of people we serve by 50%. And that's the number of people we employ, as well as community-based clients. And look, we have 3 types of pockets of money that I just mentioned, right? And so in my mind, as we grow our businesses, that helps pay for the infrastructure of the whole organization. The donors help pay for the salaries of the trainees who work at our agency who get transformed. And really the way to think about government support is why we need it is to help pay for the social program side, the domestic violence counseling, the substance abuse counseling, the mental health services, the tattoo removal, all that it takes to sort of help transform the individual before they actually go learn about a job and move forward. So long term, we're going to definitely keep on growing our businesses, so we want to be more self-sustaining that way. But without a doubt, with more government funding, we can serve many more former homeboys and homegirls.
Speaking of your businesses, what are the areas in which we could engage homeboys in terms of your businesses? So we have a nice little cafe downstairs on the 2nd floor.
We do.
But what other facilities? What are there lunch programs that we have that we could partner with you? The county has a jail system and a camp system that you could work in. LAUSD feeds a lot of
kids,
kids every day.
Right.
So what are just looking for partnerships here.
Yeah, no, and that's an excellent point. You know, we bake bread and we have bread routes to go around the city and deliver to restaurants. So there's no reason why we couldn't bake bread for the school district, right, and for their lunch program, standard white bread, right, that type of thing, right? And similarly,
Wonder has a thing.
right, that's right. And similarly on the uniform side, you know, we do silk screening and T-shirts and embroidery. You know, we have the Summer Nights Lights shirt program, but certainly the city has other uniforms and other uses. And then we do want to expand our homeboy diner here, coffee shop, into other locations as well. And to me, it's a win-win. I mean, it's a guy coming from business. I see this as we grow our businesses. We bring in more revenues that help fund the program, but as we grow our businesses, we create more jobs that we can then teach our people how to get job skills and move on outside of our agency afterwards.
Okay.
I'm a fan of Father Greg Boyle's book, Tattoos of the Heart.
Right.
And I encourage everyone to pick up a copy. I know this is a commercial break, but I tell you, let me be clear that it's an amazing, amazing book.
Right.
That what you just explained to us, what your business model is, and the lives that have impacted, have you touched in Homeboy Industries, is exactly what he wrote about in the book. Incredible work.
Sure.
And I know recently we had some media coverage from Steve Lopez's column,
Right.
LA Business Journal as well, indicating the challenges, the financial challenges that Homeboy Industry faces. What would you attribute that challenge to as far as the lack of funding?
So let me say it this way. First of all, I agree with buy the book. It's a great book. Look, we are actually pretty... Homeboy Industries, there's a lot of perception about our finances at Homeboy Industries. Right? We actually are in a good spot financially. We finished last year with a small operating gain, which is what normal nonprofits do. So we're not in financial trouble. We're not in a disastrous spot. But what we're at is recognizing that in 2014, because we're going to get $1 million less of county, state funding than we did in 2013, we know we're going to serve
fewer people.
Right. And so knowing that we have less money, we've sort of right-sized the organization, so we're not going to overspend and we're not going to go into a deficit or anything like that.
Sure.
There's a little bit of misstatement in the Steve Lopez article that we're trying to clear up. We're not in a deficit situation.
Right.
But look, I mean, it's almost as, there's not a lot of fat in the organization, and it's as simple as with more money we can serve more people and more clients and change more lives. And so, it's such a great organization. I think it's a shame that we had a shrink in 2014 versus 2013. I like to see long-term us growing and having more impact. We have great impact now, but having more people we can serve would be terrific.
I'm one to identify and note measure of effectiveness here, and it's something that I took with me as a police officer, even more so now as a council member.
Right.
But what you're doing is working, without a doubt. You are changing lives, you're saving lives, and for that, again, we're thankful and grateful.
I appreciate you saying that. And if I can just add one more point,
Yes.
Father Greg's such a unique and super individual. You can't put enough words to Father Greg, right? And me as the new guy coming in, I just want to say another aspect what we have to appreciate what Father Greg has done is he's built a strong team underneath him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the folks here, Greg's out on the road all the time giving speeches. The folks here really know how to run the agency and how to move it forward. So that's my point of we can be scalable. We can do more because we're not dependent upon Father Greg to do it all. It's folks like Hector and Veronica who could do it. So not only is he amazing for all the things he does, but he's built a really solid organization.
Right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks for releasing.
Yes, Mr. Cedillo, sure.
So, are you in LAX?
Yes, we are. We have a joint venture in LAX in Terminal 4, and we're anxious to see when the RFP comes out for more terminals to be opened up to be bid on because it's a good business opportunity.
And then a personal question. You come from the private sector, now you're in the nonprofit, trying to deal with government. What are the challenges that you see there?
Are we being recorded?
Always.
It's not so much government as much as it's about raising money. It's this constant push to go raise, whether it's foundations, whether it's individual donors, whether it's government. It's understanding what their motivations and what the reason why they want to donate money. So, in some ways, if I was to be a little bit critical, it's not based on a meritocracy all the time. Of based on your numbers and how well you do. It's how do you align sort of motivations? How do you align interest? And that you have to focus on that a lot more than you do in the private sector. What I love about being in the nonprofit sector, though, is particularly at Homeboy Industries, is we're not bound by the same type of rules and policies. So we go overboard to do what's right for the individual, and that's refreshing because sometimes in big corporations you get bound by rules and regulations. And it's terrific working at Homeboy Industries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Look forward to continuing our dialogue. Thank you so much. With that, we're going to continue item 3, and this purpose of time here, I know some time constraints. So I want to thank Felipe and Noreen, who are here to present, but we're going to continue item 3. It's not time sensitive, but it is an important item to look at the different processes in place moving forward and with our model here at the grid. So with that, I don't see any public comment cards here for non-agenda items, so we'll close that and say that thank you so much to each and every one of you for what you're doing day in and day out. You are our peacemakers. You're keeping peace in the city of Los Angeles, working hand in hand with our public safety agencies. Thank you. We're looking forward to continuing this discussion, and may God bless you and keep you safe. Thank you.